If you have that, the pumping waters, you can have a washing machine. But if you have a tap running into your house, instead of going and doing that, just turn it on. You can have a washing machine in your house easily.
It seems that poverty is constructed in a way that everyone who experiences poverty experiences it in the same way, which isn't true. It's different from country to country, it's different from town to town. But the reply is to homogenise the work of development and say that all development agencies work in the same way and that they all approach poverty in the same way, which isn't true either. Everyone seems to do it in different ways and each NGO has a different point. So while the criticism is appropriate and it's not something that I'd thought of before, I'd like to see how you think that those big changes can actually be made when there are still children dying every single day from lack of water. And we can't even tackle that, and we're going to miss all the UN development goals. How are you going to tackle the really big problems? How are you actually going to get it to that stage that you want to campaign for?
This is for Ceri. Yes, we should be thinking big, but instead of thinking big, we should also be looking around ourselves and maybe campaigning for living more sustainable lives. But the thing is, I don't think anyone will want to hear that in the West. But yeah, that's one of the things I worry about. Everyone thinks big. You know, we'll need, I don't know, how many planets?
You know, in the film, somebody said it's a sad reflection on mankind to think that people don't want all the things we have here. Washing machine will help you a lot in your life. Instead of going in there to get robbed, and we need to think very big. Also, come back to the poverty. We need more technology. We can't get people out of poverty just by, sorry, Kim again, by God. It's every time we want to portray Africans and poor countries, we want to put the poverty above human beings, above the aspiration of people, above the hope of the people.
I saw that bit on the film and I was just a little thrown by that, so I went on the WORLDwrite website and I printed off a page about what they do with rope pumps. It was in Mozambique. I couldn't find anything about rope pumps in Ghana. But what I also did think about when I saw that, I can't speak for WORLDwrite, but what I did think is that they appeared, the interview was conducted with two men in, obviously, a house in possibly Accra, who were CEOs of two media companies who didn't know about rope pumps. Well, I wouldn't really expect, if I was sitting around in the Kensington home of people who ran Channel 4 and perhaps Sky News, for them to know about what are the needs and what affects poor people up here in the northeast of England. So that's just a point I thought about there.
Bicycle rope pump. I actually think it's a sad reflection for mankind, really, that when they have rockets going to the moon, they have space shuttles. At the other hand, they are busy preparing this for people to fetch water.
My fundamental point of view, and I think many people here share it, is that in a world that has such a great capability of producing affluence, has the technical capability, can mobilize the resources, it is morally reprehensible that there be such a gross maldistribution of that wealth. How are we going to address those problems? I said before, although NGO action wanting to do good from the heart, I don't think is not fundamentally wrong, but it can have unintended consequences. And it can maybe do some good for a few, but it may not be anything like sufficient to address the causes of the problem or even the symptoms of the problem as a whole. Only structural solutions and massive redistribution and correct, in a sense, intelligent, effective deployment of resources can do that. So thinking big, I said, yeah, think big, that everyone should enjoy the same fundamental quality of life all over this planet by right, because they're a member of the human species. And if we do it wrongly, we will need 8 planets, and we will destroy the very basis for our own livelihood, along with a lot of other species that live on this planet. We cannot go down that road. So we need a revolution. We need a revolution, and that's why I invoked the vector of climate change in the present situation. We must solve both of these problems simultaneously, or we won't solve them at all.
I think we should recognise that there are no NGOs at all campaigning for industry in developing countries, in Africa in particular. There are not these NGOs. So if we homogenise NGOs, we quite rightly do so. I would love it to be otherwise. If we homogenise poverty, quite rightly. Poverty is poverty. It can take all different forms, you can do all different things to get out of it. It's called not having enough money, to have a better life and to have the freedom to do what most of us do in even sitting in this room, and that's use our creativity rather than toil to survive. We do need to campaign to support massive investment for serious development, and that includes industry that we in the West do not like. And let's face it, that shapes most NGO thinking, most development discourse. We have become disenchanted with those things. We don't like what's happening in China. That's why people aren't celebrating it. They go on about, the pollution. WaterAid, unlike the Ghanaians who've managed to make it, and sadly Oxfam doesn't like rich Africans who've got to know a lot more about their country sat in Accra than WaterAid people do sat in Hyde Park or anywhere else. WaterAid do not support people having toilets, massive infrastructure, major sewage systems. No, they do support local pit latrines, boreholes and hand pumps, and they get the water industries in the West to finance these kind of projects. We have a whole new area to take on if we really want to support our peers, and that's environmentalism. Because actually those ideas are really damning the developing world now from even getting a look in at having what we have.